What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of Bucs Latest here on the Fan Arch Network. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And, of course, for Bucs Nation and Go Bucs fans, it's your time. Remember, like and subscribe to Bucs Latest here on the Fan Arch Network. Let's get into it on a Monday edition here where plenty of mock drafts are coming out. This from Buccaneers.com, as they have at number 15, the Bucs taking Keldrick Faulk. They say the Buccaneers have been hunting for more firepower off the edge, and they find it at number 15 with Keldrick Faulk. At 6'6", the man is built like a problem. His ceiling is as high as anyone's in the draft. Now, the narrative around Faulk seems to revolve around the dip in production from 2024 to 2025. His sophomore year, he was able to amass 7 sacks and 11 tackles for loss, cementing himself as one of the nation's most promising pass rushers at just 19 years old. Last season, the team's captain played a more unselfish role within Auburn's scheme, leading to a reduction in his output. Despite this, he still earned third-team All-SEC honors and led the team with 4 pass breakups. Faulk is way more than the box score suggests. Faulk is one of the youngest prospects in this year's draft. At just 20 years old, he is already NFL ready in terms of size and technique. His reach lets him disrupt blockers before they can even get set, tilting the play in his favor from the jump. He also was one of the nation's best rush defenders, which we know is important in a Todd Bowles defense. Swiping off of offensive linemen like they were ragdolls, Faulk is not just a pick for 2026. He's an investment for the next decade and one that will surely pay off for the Buccaneers. Now, I've said this before. The production is necessarily not there, although it was there as a sophomore. What happened last year was he double-teamed. Did offensive coordinators catch up on his tendencies? What were the players around him? Why did his production drop off? Although you look at him being 20 years old, having that high ceiling, so you wonder with the addition of El Quadin Muhammad by Jason Light and crew there, could they afford to take a player that necessarily won't come in and have to be productive right away? He may not be productive. He may develop in the second half of the year. He may develop in a couple years. Is this a player that the Bucs should be interested in? Bucs fans, put the comments there in the box. Faulk at number 15, according to Buccaneers.com in their mock draft, yes or no? I'm kind of undecided, as I've said, that if there was anybody in this draft that could be a bust, I think this guy could be it because of the lack of production. Then again, the potential is there, the ceiling is there, and he is only 20 years old, so he has an opportunity to develop even more. And again, you look at the athleticism, 6'6", 276, you can't teach that. And he also can play the run very well. So I'm kind of going back and forth on this, kind of trying to take a look at it. Can't really decide, but this is the latest mock draft from, once again, Buccaneers.com. Now, in the second round, they have the Bucs taking inside linebacker from Cincinnati, Jake Golday, who brings rare size, athleticism to the linebacker position, giving Tampa Bay a versatile weapon in the middle of their defense. Cincinnati deployed Golday all over the field, lining him up everywhere from the slot to the defensive line. He does his best work lurking near the line of scrimmage and should be utilized beautifully in a Todd Bowles system. In 2025, Golday capped off his best season by leading the Bearcats with 105 tackles, earning first-team All-Big 12 honors. Before arriving in Cincinnati, he spent 3 seasons at Central Arkansas alongside, once again, connect the dots season here, Bucs fans, the Buccaneers' 2025 fourth-round pick, David Walker. Golday's discipline is defined by his character. He has not committed a penalty since 2021, which is impressive, and served as a weight room captain for the Bearcats. Golday would be an excellent addition to the front seven in 2026. So this is a name that we necessarily haven't heard a lot of that we'll focus on in this edition of Bucs Latest, and maybe in the future here, because again, we talked about Jacob Rodriguez and, possibly Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas, maybe in the later rounds from Pittsburgh, Kyle Lewis, who, has been compared to Derek Brooks according to Louis Riddick there, which, comparisons are tough, but anytime you compare a linebacker to the great Derek Brooks, you better do some research. Now, this from our friends at Joe Bucs Fan, sitting down with Todd Bowles, talking about the inside linebacker position. Bowles says, I feel like there are some inside linebackers in this draft that can really play. There are quite a few of them, at least 10 or 12 of them for sure, says Bowles. The trait we look for most is probably instinctiveness. You look for instincts right there, how they read, how they scrape, and how they go. And I think there's a bunch of those in this draft. So it remains to be seen what the Bucs will do. Will they take one in the second round? Maybe somebody in the third round they like, or the fourth round, because it is such a deep draft when it comes to inside linebackers. But make no mistake about it, even though they filled it in free agency with Alex Anzalone, and of course, Roseboom there, Christian Roseboom, the former Carolina Panther, and they also have Savasier Dennis. They have a need there at linebacker. So inside linebacker will definitely be a position of need. What do you think of this pick? What do you think of the picks overall for the first 2 rounds from Buccaneers.com? Put the comments there in the box on Bucs Latest here on the Fan Arch Network. Now let's move on to our second story of the day, and this would be rumors, because they are flying, they are swirling. This is rumor season, but I will caution Bucs fans that this is also the biggest time for misinformation, false news, because people are putting out smoke screens and information that necessarily isn't true at this point. Now, this according to ESPN. How many defensive players will the Buccaneers draft in April? And this is according to Jenna Lane. Edge rusher, inside linebacker, cornerback are needed, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them doubling up at corner again, which the Bucs have done before. They did that last year with Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Harris. They've also done it in the past with Sean Murphy-Bunting and Carlton Davis, which worked out very well as they won a Super Bowl. A lot of Bucs fans forget because they're no longer with the team, but they were contributors. And you saw Parrish last year possibly being the best corner on this team. It remains to be seen if Morrison can provide the same thing in 2026. But the Buccaneers are also doing a lot of work on this year's tight end class, have looked at a lot of interior offensive linemen for depth, and would not pass up the best player available situation at a non-need position. So I would say as many as 5 defensive players will be selected. Again, Jenna Lane from ESPN. And then also what they're hearing in this from Jordan Reed, writer at ESPN again. Defensive end and tight end are 2 positions that the Bucs have keyed on as round 1 options, with tight end Kenyon Sadiq of Oregon being a real possibility at number 15. Wow. We've heard this name. I think it would be very disappointing if they drafted a tight end, but is it a need? Is it the biggest need for this team? I do not think so, but we have seen the Bucs before and Jason Licht take positions or the best player in the draft. I didn't think that they would take a wide receiver last year. It's a good thing they did. They just re-signed a Cade Otton, but what did they have behind him? I'm not sure. Devin Culp, a lot of Bucs fans calling for him to start and play. He hasn't gotten the opportunity. There may be a reason for it. Payne Durham on this team still hasn't gotten an opportunity to play. When he has gotten the opportunity, he's shown some flashes of brilliance, but he's not nearly consistent enough. So is this a big-time need to where, once again, you lose a Mike Evans and you go with the tight end at 15? I definitely believe it's more of a defensive draft for this team. But do not be surprised that if there is a tight end like a Sadiq on the board that maybe the Bucs would take. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it should happen. But these rumors continue to persist. So we'll see in about 10 days for the NFL draft, when that draft chime hits, what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to do. What do you think about the latest rumors? I love rumors and speculation here on Bucs Latest on the Fan Arch Network. Put the comments there in the box. Again, on Bucs Latest here on the Monday on the Fan Arch Network. Now, this story, a little bit disturbing, if you will. In fact, real disturbing. This from Ali Conley of the Reed Optional, as he reports that Ruben Bain was cited for careless driving after a March 2024 crash in Miami that left a passenger in a coma. That passenger, a 22-year-old student, died 3 months later. NFL teams are aware and investigating per sources. There was also a second citation for careless driving in 2025. The standout Miami edge rusher was cited at the scene by the Florida Highway Patrol for operating a motor vehicle in a careless or negligent manner. The charge was later dismissed because of a defective citation after Bain Jr. entered a not guilty plea according to the court records. The crash report indicates that Bain Jr. did not show any impairment and was not suspected of alcohol or drug use, and that no tests were given at the time. The incident has not been previously reported. Bain was cited for careless driving. It could be a Laramie Tunzel all over again, a league source told the Read Optional. It feels like it could be a Laramie Tunzel all over again. Also, it doesn't feel like Bain has been very transparent with us. We are concerned about multiple incidents. Another team executive said, we are waiting for the other shoe to drop. Now, why do I mention this? Why is this Bucs related? Because Ruben Bain Jr. has been talked about or been said that he could be drafted in the top 5, top 10. There are concerns about his short arms, but this is more of a big-time concern, a red flag. So is there a possibility he drops to 15? And if he does drop to 15 and he is on the board, I get it, he has consistent production. Does this make Jason Licht want to draft him, or does he take him off the board? Bucs fans, what would you do? Would you draft Bain Jr. at 15 knowing what you know now, or would you keep him off the draft board? And I will say this. Listen, everybody makes a mistake, and it's definitely a tragic situation. But then you do it a second time, and that's called a pattern of behavior. And NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell doesn't necessarily look fond on these situations. In fact, you would have to think that Bain Jr. would most likely would be called up to the principal's office to talk about this situation, because a pattern of behavior, if this happens again in the NFL, and remember, NFL teams are looking at this very closely, because you look at the James Pierce Jr. situation off the field. If you're going to invest a first-round pick, if you're going to invest millions of dollars in a prospect and put your hopes and dreams and draft capital in that player, and you don't necessarily feel right about the situation because you can't trust him not only on the field but off the field to make the correct decisions, then you definitely need to either consider him off the draft board, or you take a chance. And at the end of the day, it may cost you your job as a GM because you put so much draft capital and you put so much faith in the player that apparently, once again, has some red flags off the field. Bucs fans, what do you think about this whole overall situation? It may work into the Bucs' favor. It may not. Put the comments there in the box on Bucs Latest here on the Fan Arch Network. So we'll monitor that situation and see what happens here in the next couple weeks or the next week, because there could be more things coming out. Now, this from J.C. Allen talking about wide receiver as a need for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as the Bucs just had a top 30 visit with Dejon Stribling, the Ole Miss wide receiver, 6'2", 207, according to J.C. Stribling is a smooth, long striding receiver who eats up cushion quickly and gives defenses problems with his ability to win vertically and on back shoulder fades. He has soft hands, strong body control, and at the catch point tracks the football well downfield, turning 50-50 opportunities in his favor more often than not. He's also a physical run blocker who is not afraid to get after defenders, which is something the Bucs value from their receivers. However, his short area quickness is limited. He builds into his speed rather than exploding off the line, and patient press corners can disrupt his release before he gets into his routes. Stribling finished his Ole Miss career with 55 receptions for 811 yards, 6 touchdowns in 2025, his second straight 800-yard season. Now, JC goes on to say how he fits. Stribling's deep ball ability and back shoulder proficiency would give Mayfield a reliable weapon in the red zone, also on downfield shots. At 6'2" with a 4.36 speed, he has the tools to win on the outside immediately. Could rotate in as a rookie in certain packages. The Bucs have an informal interview with Stribling at the NFL Scouting Combine, and once again, brought him in for an official 30 visit. Now, I'm not saying they're going to draft him at 15. That would be a reach and be crazy at this point. We talked about offensive weapons at 15. I don't know if it's second round, but I could say maybe third round, fourth round at this point, as he could be a day 2 or day 3 pick. And once again, he's a player that the Bucs are looking at because he's a lot bigger than some of the receivers in that room. He's a true X receiver that you're going to have to replace Mike Evans. So, of course, you have to move on. You can move on to a prospect like this. It wouldn't cost you a lot of draft capital. He has speed. The Bucs don't have speed on this team. Besides a Tez Johnson, I'll give you that. Tez definitely is electric when it comes to the wide receiving position, but this would just add to it. It's definitely interesting that, once again, wide receiver is coming up. Of course, you have to fill that need. I don't think it's going to happen day 1, but it definitely, for this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team and the 2026 draft in just 10 days, may happen in day 2 or day 3. So that's another edition of Bucs Latest here on the Fan Arch Network. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And for Bucs Nation and Go Bucs fans, it's your time. Remember, like and subscribe to Bucs Latest on the Fan Arch Network. And as we always say on this show, to end it off on a Monday, Go Bucs.